Good afternoon all. Welcome to the lecture of complex analysis. Okay. So in last lecture we have seen some results. In that first one is nothing but if suppose there is a function f and having a pole at a point z equal to a and that pole will be of order m. Then the residue of a function f at a point a is nothing but 1 upon m minus 1 factorial limit z tending towards the point a, m minus 1 the derivative with respect to a z of a function z minus a to the power m into f of z. And again there is and second result, that is actually it is a corollary of a previous theorem, and that one is nothing but if f has a simple pole at a point z equal to a and f of z is of the form h of z divided by k of z, then a residue of a function f at a point a is nothing but h of a divided by k dash of a. So today we will see one new concept which is nothing but the meromorphic function. Let us see what is a meromorphic function. Meromorphic function. A function small f that is analytic except for finite number of points. Finite number of points is called as a meromorphic function. Is called as a meromorphic function. Okay, so what is a meromorphic function? If suppose there is a function and which is defined on some set D, which is subset of C, then that function is said to be a meromorphic function if it is analytic on whole D but except some finite number of points, and that and the points where it is not analytic must be the singular points, and that points will be a pole only. There is one more definition of this function, that one is nothing but, or a function f is analytic in a domain D, is analytic in a domain D where D is a subset of C, that is complex number system, except possibly for finite number of points, that is poles. For poles is called meromorphic function. Meromorphic function. Okay, so the meromorphic function must have a singular points, but the singular point must be a pole only. That is, the function must have an isolated singularity, and in that isolated singularity the singular point must be poles only. Okay, for example, if suppose f of z is equal to some 1 upon z minus of 2 into z plus 5, so this will be a function and which has only two singular points, that one are nothing but 2 and minus of 5, and 2 is a as 2 and 5 both are the singular points, but z equal to 2 is a singular point which is a pole and it is a simple pole. Okay, so again minus 5 is also a simple pole, so this type of function is called as a meromorphic function. Second one, if suppose f of z is nothing but 1 upon e to the power z minus of 5, again here z equal to 0 is a simple pole of this function. Okay, so in this way we can check. Now we have to see what is the relation between entire function and meromorphic function. Each entire function is a meromorphic function, but converse need not be true, since entire function means it is analytic in whole complex plane. Meromorphic function means it is analytic everywhere except some finite number of points. Maybe it is analytic on whole domain. It means every entire function is a meromorphic function, but converse need not be true, and that one is the example of converse part. That is, this function is a meromorphic, but it is not an entire function since it is not analytic on whole complex plane. Okay, now If suppose f and g are any two meromorphic functions, then the sum of some product, quotient, and subtraction of meromorphic function is again a meromorphic function. There is one note, that one is nothing but if f and g are meromorphic in G, meromorphic in capital G, then f plus g, f minus of g, f into g, and f divided by g, where g is not equal to 0, g not equal to 0, are also meromorphic functions in G, are also meromorphic in G. Okay. Now, next there is one result. That one is nothing but the argument principle. Let us see the statement first. Argument. Its statement: let f be a meromorphic function. F be a meromorphic function in a set G with poles P1, P2 up to so on Pm. With poles P1, P2 up to so on Pm and zeros, as it is a meromorphic function, then it has some finite number of poles. That one is nothing but P1, P2 up to so on Pm and zeros Z1, Z2 up to so on Zn. Z1, Z2 up to so on Zn, counted according to their multiplicity. Counted according to their multiplicity. Now, if gamma is a closed rectifiable curve in G, rectifiable curve in capital G such that this curve gamma is homologous to 0 and not passing through any of the poles P1, P2 up to so on Pm, and not passing through P1, P2 up to so on Pm, and the zeros Z1, Z2 up to so on Zn, then 1 upon 2 pi I integration over the curve gamma f dash of z divided by f of z dz is nothing but summation j running from 1 to n index of a curve gamma with respect to a point zj minus summation j running from 1 to m index of a curve gamma with respect to these poles pg. That one we have to. Okay, so here we have f is a meromorphic function. It means it has either poles or not poles. If it has a poles, then the number of poles must be finite. So here we have considered P1, P2 up to so on Pm be the poles of a given function f, and Z1, Z2 up to so on Zn are the zeros of the function f, and they are counted according to their multiplicity. If gamma is any closed rectifiable in region G such that gamma is homologous to 0. It means index of a curve gamma with respect to any point W will be equal to 0 whenever W is not a point of G. It means it is belonging to C minus G. And this gamma is not passing through the poles and the zeros. It means it does not touches these poles and zeros. And then we have to prove that 1 upon 2 pi integration over the curve gamma f dash of z divided by f of z dz is nothing but this one, that is summation j running from 1 to n index of a curve gamma with respect to a point zj minus summation j running from 1 to m index of a curve gamma with respect to a point pj. Actually this part is nothing but the number of zeros of the given function, that is, and which are inside the curve gamma. Since here we have taking all the zeros of the function f of z and its index with respect to a curve gamma, so actually it is nothing but the number of zeros of the given function inside the curve gamma, and this one is nothing but the number of poles of the given function f inside the curve gamma, and subtraction of these two number of zeros and number of poles inside the curve gamma is nothing but this value, that is 1 upon 2 pi I integral over the curve gamma f dash of z divided by f of z dz. So see the proof now. Here f has a zeros at z1 z2 up to so on zn. Since the function f has zeros at z1 z2 up to so on zn and poles at p1 p2 up to so on pm. Okay, and they are counted according to their multiplicities, whatever will be counted according to their multiplicity. Okay, so as these are the zeros, these are the poles, then f of z must be of the form this one, that is z1 is a pole 0, z1 minus z1 z minus of z2 up to so on z minus of zn divided by its poles, that is z minus p1 z minus of p2 to so on z minus of pn into some g of z, where g of z is not equal to 0. Z is not equal to 0 for any z belonging to G, for all z belonging to G, and G is analytic just by the definition of zeros. Okay, now taking log on both sides, we get log of this function small f of z is nothing but log of this one is nothing but log of f upon g is nothing but, or log of any a upon b is nothing but log of a minus log of b. So actually it is nothing but log of this one is nothing but log of z minus of z1 into z minus of z2 into up to so on z minus of zn into this g of z, since g of z is in numerator, minus of log of z minus of p1 z minus of p2 up to so on z minus of pm. This will be m. Okay, which is just by the log property, that is log of f by g is nothing but log f minus log g, which is the property of log. Okay, so which is equal to, again there is one property, log of a into b is nothing but log of a plus log of b. By that property this one is now becomes log of z minus of z1 plus log of z minus of z2 plus up to so on log of z minus of zn plus log of g of z, log of g of z, now minus of this log of z minus of p1 plus log of z minus of p2 plus up to so on log of z minus of pm. Okay, so this will be nothing but log f of z. Now take the derivative with respect to a point z, which implies 1 upon f of z into f dash of z, which is nothing but f dash of z divided by f of z, and which is equal to, now log of x is nothing but 1 upon x with respect to x. Okay, so as here we have differentiating this function with respect to z, there it becomes 1 upon z minus of z1. Derivative of z with respect to z is 1 plus 1 upon z minus z2 into 1 plus up to so on 1 upon z minus of zn plus derivative of this one is nothing but derivative of any function derivative of log x will be 1 upon x into x, derivative of x. Here 1 upon g of z with respect to z, derivative of this function will be g dash of z. So it is nothing but g dash of z divided by g of z plus. Now here all these functions are here, log z minus p1, log z minus p2. If we multiply this minus sign by in bracket, then we get all the terms are negatives. Then it is nothing but 1 upon z minus of p1 minus of 1 upon z minus of p2 minus of 1 upon z minus of pm. Okay, so now taking integration over the curve gamma on both sides, then we get integration over the curve gamma f dash z divided by f of z dz is equal to integration over the curve gamma z minus of z1 dz plus integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus z2 of dz plus up to so on integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus zn of dz plus integration over the curve gamma g dash of z divided by g of z dz plus here now it becomes minus of integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus of p1 dz minus of up to so on minus integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus of pm dz. Okay, now here g is an analytic function. G is analytic. First, before that, we will write this one in short form, which is nothing but before this one is now becomes integration over the curve gamma f dash of z divided by f of z dz is equal to, this will be nothing but summation j running from 1 to n integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus of zj into dz minus of summation j running from 1 to m integration over the curve gamma 1 upon z minus pj of dz plus integration over the curve gamma g dash of z divided by g of z dz. Okay, now here g is an analytic function. G is analytic. As it is analytic, then it must be infinitely differential. As it must be infinitely differential, it means g dash is also analytic. G dash is also analytic. As g and g dash both are analytic, then g dash upon g is also analytic, which is by the algebra of analytic function, which implies g dash upon g, where g is not equal to 0. Since here we have defined our g is here not equal to 0, that is somewhere here. Here g of z is not equal to 0 for any z belonging to g. It means g dash upon g is defined. Therefore, g is not equal to 0 is also analytic. As this one is analytic, then by Cauchy theorem, by Cauchy's theorem. Okay, that is if f is analytic function on the curve gamma and which is subset of open ball about f radius r, then integration over the curve gamma of f will be equal to 0. Since if function is analytic, then its integration over the curve will be always 0, which implies integration over the curve gamma g dash of z divided by g of z dz is equal to 0. So this part will be 0. Now multiply both sides by 1 upon 2 pi I or divide both sides by 2 pi I. Then we get, first we will write integration over the curve gamma f dash of z divided by f of z dz, and which is equal to summation j running from 1 to n integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus of zj minus summation j running from 1 to m integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus pj. Okay, now multiply both sides by 1 upon 2 pi I, then now it becomes z divided by f of z dz, which is equal to in summation j running from 1 to n 1 upon 2 pi I integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus of zj minus summation j running from 1 to m 1 upon 2 pi I integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus of pj. Now we know that by definition of index of a curve with respect to some point zj is nothing but 1 upon 2 pi I integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus of zj, which is for a. We know that here we will write some particular w or a. Index of a curve gamma with respect to point a is nothing but 1 upon 2 pi I integration over the curve gamma dz upon z minus of a. So by this definition, we get 1 upon 2 pi I integration of the curve gamma f dash z divided by f of z dz is equal to, this one is now becomes, here a will be work as sum this zj. So it is nothing but summation j running from 1 to n index of a curve gamma with respect to a point zj minus summation j running from 1 to m index of a curve gamma with respect to the points pg. And I think that is we have to do. Let us denote this one as some capital N and this one as some capital M, where capital N is nothing but summation j running from 1 to n index of a curve gamma with respect to point zj. That is, it is nothing but number of zeros of the function f, number of zeros of function f inside the curve gamma, and capital M is nothing but summation j running from 1 to m index of a curve gamma with respect to the point pj, and that one is nothing but number of zeros, sorry, number of poles of a function f inside gamma, and that is we have to prove, and hence the required result. Okay, so this result will be useful when we have to find out some integration integral part, then we can easily find out that from this result. If the function is meromorphic, then only we can use this result. Okay, and which is the required result our. Now there is one more concept which is nothing but the Rouché's theorem. Let us see what is that. Rouché's theorem. ROU theorem. See, first statement is, suppose f and g are two functions. Suppose f and g are meromorphic function in meromorphic function in a neighborhood of a closed disk which is centered at some point A and having radius will be r, with no zeros or poles on the circle gamma, which is nothing but z, such that modulus of z minus equal to capital R. If zf and zg, f and zg with the number of zeros, and pf and pg are the number of poles of f and g inside the curve gamma. This will be pg inside gamma counted according to their multiplicity, according to their multiplicity, and if modulus of f of z plus g of z is strictly less than mod f of z plus mod gz on gamma, then zf minus of zg is nothing but pf minus of pg, where zf is nothing but the number of zeros of the function f and zg is nothing but the number of zeros of the function g. Pf is nothing but number of poles of the function f and pg is nothing but the number of poles of the function g. And whenever we have two moromorphic functions f and g which are defined on the neighborhood of p closure of, that is closed disk which is centered at A and having radius will be capital R with no zeros or poles on the circle, this one, that is on the boundary of this circle that is centered at A and having radius will be capital R. There is no zero and no pole on this boundary, and if ZF and ZG be the two number of zeros of and PF and PG be the number of poles of the functions f and g respectively, and they are inside the curve gamma, and this number of zeros and number of poles counted according to their multiplicities, and modulus of f of z plus g of z is less than mod fz plus mod gz on trace of on gamma, then we have to prove this one. That is the number of zeros of the function f minus number of the zeros of the function g is equal to number of poles of the function f minus number of poles of the function g. Okay, so here it's proved. Proof. Given that modulus of f of z plus g of z is less than mod f z plus mod g z. Divide both sides by modulus of g of z. Then we get modulus of f of z divided by g of z plus 1 is less than mod f z divided by mod g z plus 1, and which is on trace on gamma. Okay, now let us define f of z divided by g of z as some lambda. So let f of z divided by g of z is equal to some lambda, and it will be some greater equal by 0. Then, so here we have taken this value as a lambda and which is greater equal by 0, which implies modulus of this lambda plus 1 is strictly less than mod f z divided by mod gz is actually nothing but it is strictly less than mod f of z divided by g of z plus 1. This will be z and plus 1. So its value will be modulus of lambda plus 1. But as lambda is greater equal by 0, then by the definition of modulus of lambda will be lambda, since lambda is greater equal by 0, and lambda is greater equal by 0, then 0 plus 1 is whatever will be the value of lambda which is greater equal by 0, then lambda plus 1 is equal to lambda plus 1, since lambda is greater equal by 0. Here, as lambda is greater equal by 0, then this one is nothing but lambda plus 1, and which is less than lambda plus 1. So this one is not possible, since lambda plus 1 is never strictly less than lambda plus 1, which is contradiction. And this contradiction, and this contradiction is arises due to our wrong assumption. Which wrong assumption? That is lambda is greater equal by 0, which implies lambda must be less than 0, which implies f upon g is a function. Therefore, f upon z, f of z divided by g of z does not take any value, in closed 0 to infinity. Since whenever we will take lambda is greater equal by 0, then there is a problem, since lambda plus 1 is strictly less than lambda plus 1, and this will be not possible. So f upon g never take a value in between closed 0 to infinity. Now, which implies the function f upon g has a well-defined logarithm. Okay. Now, here we will consider one integral over the curve gamma of d by dz of a function f of z divided by g of z with respect to z, and which is equal to 0. Okay, so now it becomes integration over the curve gamma, and we know that how to find out the derivative of such type of function. Actually, it is nothing but f upon g of dz, and which is equal to 0, and which is nothing but now integration over the curve gamma. Now its derivative will be, as this will be a, sorry, here we have to consider the log of this one, since if this is of so here we will take this one as this one, so log of f, and we know that what is the log of f, which is 1 upon f into f dash, so it is nothing but 1 upon f divided by g into its derivative of upon g dash dz will be equal to 0. Sorry, yes, and which is equal to integration over the gamma. F upon g is nothing but g by f. Now we know that how to find out the derivative of u by v rule. First, let us write this one as it is g as f dash minus f as it is g dash minus of g square, and which is equal to 0. Here we have to write dz, and which is equal to 0. This g get cancelled, which implies integration over the curve gamma g f dash minus of f g dash divided by f g dz is equal to 0. So which is actually nothing but integration over the curve gamma. This will be divided by this one, g get cancelled, so it is nothing but f dash upon f minus of g dash upon of g dz, and which is equal to 0, which implies integration over the curve gamma f dash divided by f dz minus integration over the curve gamma g dash divided by g dz, which is equal to 0. Multiply both sides by 1 upon 2 pi I. Integration over the curve gamma f dash divided by f dz, curve gamma g dash divided by g dz, and which is equal to 0. Sorry, here we have to take 1 upon 2 pi I. 1 upon 2 pi I integration of the curve gamma, but by argument principle. By argument principle. What should be the value of this one? This one is nothing but n minus m. That is number of zeros of the function f minus number of poles of the function f. That is zf and zg denotes the number of the function f, number of zeros of the function f, and pf denotes the number of poles of the function f. So it is nothing but zf minus pf minus of, this one is nothing but zg minus of pg, and which is equal to 0, which implies zf minus of pf is equal to zg minus of pg, and this one can be written as zf minus of zg equal to pf minus of pg, and that is we have to do, and hence the required result. Okay, and that one is nothing but the Cauchy's theorem. Now there are some corollaries depending on this result. See what are those. First corollary, corollary 1, let f and g be analytic in a neighborhood of closed disk which is centered at A, having radius will be r, with no zeros on, gamma, where gamma is, it contains all z, such that modulus of z minus a will be equal to some r, and if modulus of f of z plus g of z is strictly less than mod f z on trace of gamma, then the function f and g have the same number of zeros, same number of zeros in open ball about A of radius R. Okay, so here we have given f and g are the two analytic functions in the neighborhood of closed disk which is centered at A having radius will be R. In previous theorem, that is in Rouché's theorem, f and g are meromorphic functions, as every analytic function which is on this whole closed ball will be also an meromorphic function, since every entire function is a meromorphic function. Therefore, here f and g are the analytic. It means it has no singular points in this neighborhood of this closed ball, and modulus of f of z plus g of z is less than modulus of f of z on the trace of gamma. Then we have to prove that the functions f and g have the same number of zeros in open ball about A of radius R. Okay, so let us see the proof. Here, modulus of f of z plus g of z is strictly less than modulus of f of z. As we know that mod z is always a positive quantity, then it must be strictly less than mod f of z plus g mod g of z. This is by the property of modulus. So here we get modulus of f of z plus g of z. So here we get f and g are the two analytic functions, and modulus of f of z plus g of z is less than modulus of f of z plus modulus of g of z on the curved trace of gamma. Then by the Rouché's theorem. What is the Rouché's theorem? It states that if f and g are the two meromorphic functions and modulus of f plus g is less equal by mod f plus mod g, then zf minus zg is nothing but the pf minus pg, which implies zf minus zg is nothing but pf minus of pg. But here f and g are analytic functions. Here f and g are analytic functions, analytic in neighborhood of this one A which centered at A having radius will be R, which implies it has no singular points. As it has no singular points, then there is no pole. It means PF will be equal to 0 and PG is also equal to 0, which implies this now star becomes ZF is equal to ZG. Okay, which implies that f and g have same number of zeros in this open ball. Okay, which will be very much easier from our Rouché's theorem. As here we have functions f and g are analytic, then it means it have no singular point. As it have no singularity, then there is no meaning for pole. It means pf and pg will be equal to 0. Now the second corollary, let f and g be analytic in neighborhood P closure of AR. It means it is a closed disk with center at A and radius R, with no zeros on gamma, curve gamma, and which is nothing but Z, which contains modulus of Z minus A equal to R. And if mod G of Z is less than mod F of Z on the curve gamma, then F and F plus G have the same number of zeros, inside gamma. Okay, again we have to prove this one. So let us see the solution that is proved. Here also we have given modulus of G of Z is less than modulus of F of Z. Now we will write this one as modulus of F of Z plus G of Z minus of F of Z, and which is strictly less than modulus of F of Z. Since here mod F plus F minus F get cancel. So which implies this one, sorry, modulus of f of z is always less equal by modulus of f of z plus, as mod is a positive quantity, then mod f z sorry, okay. So mod f z is always less than, that is this will be less than, strictly less than modulus of f of z, as here we are adding modulus of g of z, and we know that mod is always a non-negative quantity. Okay, so it means it is strictly inequality will be as it is. Okay, so here we get modulus of f of z plus g of z minus f of z will be less than modulus of f of z plus g of z, which is, let us take this one will be as some function f and this will be as function g. Modulus of f of z plus modulus of g of z plus modulus of minus of f of z by this one. Modulus of g of z is strictly less than modulus of f of z. Modulus of f of z plus g of z minus f of z is just an arrangement of this one. As it is strictly less than this quantity, then it must be strictly less than by this one plus this one, since these all are the positive quantities. So here modulus of f of z plus g of z minus of this f of z is strictly less than mod f z plus g z minus of plus minus 1 will be plus now. So mod of f of z. Here we will take this sum as a single one. That is model. So which is less equal by this one. Now take this one as some function f and this one as some function g. This will be f and this will be g, and which is less equal by modulus of f plus modulus of g. Then by the Rouché's theorem. By Rouché's theorem. ZF plus G minus ZF is equal to PF plus G minus of PF. That is actually, this is nothing but ZF plus G minus of PF plus G will be equal to ZF minus of PF. Again here F and G are the two analytic functions, but F and G are analytic, and by the algebra of analytic functions, if f and g are analytic, which implies f plus g is also analytic, f plus g is also analytic. As the functions f and g are analytic and f plus g is also analytic, then it has no singular points. It means pf equal to 0 and pf plus g is also 0. So which implies this star becomes ZF plus G is equal to ZF, where ZF plus G is nothing but the number of zeros of the function F plus G inside the curve gamma, and ZF is nothing but the number of zeros of the function F inside the curve gamma, which implies F plus G and the function F have the same number of zeros, inside curve gamma, and hence the okay. So the Rouché's theorem, and these are the two important corollaries on the Rouché's theorem. Now depending on this theorem and corollaries, there is one more theorem which is also called as a fundamental theorem of algebra. Fundamental theorem of algebra. First we will see its statement. See what will be its statement. A polynomial P of Z, a polynomial P of Z, which is equal to Z to the power n plus an minus 1 Z to the power n minus of 1 plus up to so on a1Z plus a0, has exactly n roots. Has exactly n roots. That is, here we have to prove that if there is a polynomial and having degree will be n, then it must have exactly n root. Okay, so let us see the proof. Let p of z be a polynomial and which is of the form z raised to n plus an minus 1 z to the power n minus 1 plus up to so on a1z plus a0. Okay, now divide both sides by z to the power n. Then we get p of z divided by z raised to n. Z raised to n divided by z raised to n 1 plus an minus 1. Z raised to n minus 1 divided by z raised to n is nothing but an minus 1 divided by z. Plus next term an minus 2 divided by z square plus up to so on. a1z divided by z raised to n, it is nothing but a1 divided by z to the power n minus 1 plus a0 divided by z raised to n. Now letting the limit as z tending towards the infinity. Letting z tending towards the point infinity, we get p of z divided by z to the power n. 1 plus, as z is tending towards infinity, 1 upon infinity will be 0 plus up to so on plus 0, which implies p of z divided by z to the power n is equal to 1 for z tending towards infinity. Now here we will use the definition of limit as p of z upon z raised to n is equal to 1 whenever z is tending towards the point infinity. Therefore, for any epsilon greater than 0 and there is capital R greater than 0, there is capital R greater than 0 such that modulus of p of z divided by z to the power n minus of 1 is less than epsilon whenever modulus of z is greater or equal by r. Since here z is tending towards the point infinity, as here we have chosen some r will be a finite quantity, then whenever z is tending towards infinity, it means p of modulus of p of z divided by z raised to n minus 1 is less than epsilon whenever mod z will be greater or equal by r. Here we will take this epsilon as particularly 1, since here we have to take any epsilon which is greater than 0. So whenever we will take epsilon equal to 1, then it is strictly less than 1 whenever modulus of z is greater or equal by r, which implies p of z divided by minus z raised to n is less than z raised to n. Sorry, modulus of z raised to n on mod z greater or equal by r. Okay, then by corollary 1, by corollary 1, as here modulus of p of z minus z raised to n is less than modulus of z raised to n, and we know that every polynomial function is an entire function, so this will be analytic, this will be analytic, and modulus of f of z is less than modulus of f plus g is less than modulus of f. Then both the functions f plus g and f have the same number of zeros inside the curve gamma, which is the first corollary of our Rouché's theorem. Therefore, by the corollary 1 of Rouché's theorem, p of z and z raised to n, sorry, in corollary first, if f and g are two analytic functions in the neighborhood of closed disk which is centered at a and having radius will be r, and modulus of f plus g is less than modulus of f, then the functions f and g have the same number of zeros. As here f is equal to this one, p of z, g is equal to this one, z raised to n, and which is less than the modulus of, sorry, let us take this one as a g and this one as a f, since here will be our f. So modulus of g plus f is less than modulus of f. Then by the corollary 1, both f and g have the same number of zeros, but here f is z raised to n and p of z, g is nothing but p of z. Therefore, p of z and z raised to n have the same number of zeros inside the curve modulus of z equal to r, has the same number of zeros inside mod z equal to r. But here f of z is z raised to n, and we know that z raised to n have the n number of zeros as 0 of order n at point z equal to 0. So there are n zeros for the function f of z, as this function has n number of zeros, which implies P of Z has exactly, sorry, here we have to take one more page, which implies P of Z has exactly n number of zeros in this region, that is mod Z equal to R, and hence the proof. So whenever P of Z is a polynomial and which is of the form Z raised to n plus a n minus 1 Z raised to n minus 1 plus a1z plus, sorry, plus up to 1 a1z plus a naught, then the polynomial P of Z has a exactly n roots in the curve mod Z equal to R. Okay. Thank you for watching the lecture.